So it seems as though these people aren't having a whale of a time. You like that joke? No? Too cheesy? Okay. So, the past 2 chapters of Hero Academia, the latest one in last week's, essentially was kind of focusing in on the problems between Inasa and Todoroki. It had a little cool moment with Deku in the end of the last chapter, him showing up like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We got a, mission here, even though it's just, training essentially, or an exam. But nonetheless, Deku had the cool moment. But ultimately, one of the things about last week, and I kind of want to focus in the center of this review, and this week, is that from last week's chapter, including myself to a certain extent, I felt as though after seeing Inasa's backstory of why he has this resentment towards Todoroki and Endeavor, pretty much because Endeavor kind of snubbed him and Todoroki kind of gave him that same glaze. If you only seen the backstory based on the events from last week's chapter, you probably would feel as though, Inasa, really? That's why you're salty, because Endeavor kind of snubbed you and Todoroki had like the same look and snubbed you too. But when you get this week's chapter, it kind of makes it a little bit better. It doesn't completely say like, hey, he has the ultimate motive for being, hating Todoroki and hating Endeavor, which he doesn't seem as though like that's the core focus of his character. It seems as though he's kind of like, fuck both of them, I don't like them, but it doesn't seem like he's devoting his entire life like, I must hate Endeavor and Todoroki, I hate them, I'm gonna, like, that's not his character. He just really doesn't like these motherfuckers. But when you get this week's chapter, it actually makes it look a little bit better when you understand that he even went the extra mile to try and befriend Todoroki, and Todoroki back in the day before he had that big change was like, bro, get the fuck away from me, I don't care. Because early on with My Hero Academia, it didn't really focus much on Todoroki up until the festival arc, where we got to see a lot more of his backstory and a lot more of who he was. So you didn't really get that kind of persona of who he was, of being an asshole, because he's always kind of just been quiet and kept to himself, opposed to somebody like Bakugo, that Bakugo's like, fuck you, I'm the greatest of all time, kiss my ass, bitch. Todoroki's just kind of been like, bro, get the fuck away from me, leave me alone, I don't want to talk. He's always been very isolated, but at the same time, don't step in his bubble, because he's gonna say, yo, Pa, eat one of these. But thankfully, of course, Todoroki's character has changed, and I think that with this chapter, we've seen some development definitely with these characters, because they actually did a combo, and I think Inasa's gonna go the way of kind of like, he's not gonna, hopefully, I hope it doesn't change around and start fanboying or whatever, but I think he's just gonna kind of not have that grudge anymore. Maybe towards Todoroki, he'll probably still say fuck Endeavor, but maybe there could come some sort of understanding or common ground, or maybe friendship. I don't know if it'll go that far, because you seen based on Inasa's character, he kind of just fanboys over whatever he's loving at the time, and superheroes is definitely one of them, and you see that he can fanboy hard, so who knows, maybe a big friendship will come out of this. I hope it doesn't go the direction of like him becoming a Bartolomeo from like One Piece towards Todoroki, as far as like just being, oh my god, Todoroki, can I suck your balls? Another thing I wanted to quickly mention was from last week's chapter, where it addressed that there was a vast difference between, or vast gap for that matter, between when All Might was at his peak and when Endeavor was around, which Endeavor's still around, obviously. All Might is no longer that amazing man, but there was a couple lines in there that also said, that amount of charisma or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, the total package of what All Might was compared to Endeavor, it's crazy that we hear that there's this majority difference. Like, I think Endeavor's strong, but I think a big part of it is, because people are saying, no, it's just the charisma, but I think a part of it is as well, is that All Might was a pretty fucking strong dude. I mean, if you've seen the All for One fight and shit like that, like, yeah, All Might was the shit, but I don't think that necessarily means that Endeavor was extremely weak, but All Might was definitely a distance in every category from what Endeavor is. And yeah, it seems as though even though Orca is going hard, which another discrepancy people are saying is, why didn't the wind and fire affect him before? And that's because it wasn't a combination attack. It was kind of like all over the place. It was a mess, but now they, put it together and they hit him, and I doubt it's really gonna like knock him, kill him, or anything like that, which obviously is not gonna kill him. I think it's gonna probably affect him a bit, Not too much, because again, he was like under Endeavor at some given point, which is kind of interesting that all of these characters that are related to Endeavor are here, like, Inasa's hatred, Todoroki, his son, and Orca, that was once upon a time, one of his underlings. So it's interesting that they're all there, and I'm assuming that, again, the reason why those past attacks didn't affect is because it wasn't, a combined effort. It was just kind of, hey, there's wind, there's fire, it's not really amplifying each other. This time they worked together to actually make a very strong attack. And with all that being said, I would say last week's chapter on its own, it was kind of a little iffy, because because again, it made Inasa look like an upset fanboy. This chapter kind of clarifies a little bit more. He's not really just distraught about it. It was more so like, I even tried to be friends with this dude, even after feeling that way, and he was still a cunt. Like, so fuck him. So I'd say probably a good for this week, maybe 7.5 around there. Last week, I want to say maybe 6.5, 6-ish. Let me know what you guys thought about these two chapters, though. How do you feel about Inasa? Do you feel as though the big kind of thing that everyone's feeling, that he's just a big crybaby, he's a salty fanboy, or do you feel otherwise? Again, if it was based on last week's chapter, I did feel like he was a salty fanboy. Getting this chapter as well, it kind of made me think, okay, you know, he even tried a bit, and Todoroki was still a dick. So I'm not that much like on the bandwagon of, you know, Inasa's a bitch. And, you know, what are thoughts about this? But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.